Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Young here, and today I'm back on our Fortnite video, and in today's video, I'm going to give you guys my top 3 tips in order to win here in Season 9. I'm recovering 3 of the most important things in my opinion if you want to be able to consistently win here in Season 9 and consistently do well. And before we get into the video, I have a weekly V-Buck giveaway. I'm going to be giving away V-Bucks every single Friday, and if you guys want a chance to win some free V-Bucks, all you guys need to do is to drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel and as well subscribe to my second channel. I post a ton of really good content on there, so make sure you guys do subscribe. Turn on my post notifications, and as well leave a comment down below of your Xbox gamer tag, your PSN gamer tag, or Epic account. And if you guys would like to support me as a creator in the item shop, all you have to do is go over to the item shop, go into the bottom right hand corner, support a creator, and type in my code. My code is Young Humor. Type it in and you guys will have me supported as a creator. And alright guys, let's get to the video. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be covering 3 of my top 3 tips I think here for Season 9. And so there's going to be 3 different tips. They're not all going to be the same type of tip. The first one, of course, is going to be a building tip. And this is a tip that I covered in my top 5 building tips, in which I did a video on it about a week ago. So if you guys saw that video, you guys already know about this. But this is a very important technique and a very useful tip that I'm going to show you guys that I think everyone should be using this if you guys want to consistently be good in build fights and just be able to be really dominant and not take a lot of damage. Because I think even better than just, learning high ground retakes and different things like that. Because I think a lot of people focus on trying to get high ground, and they focus a lot less on the defensive side of building, because I think that's one of the most important parts of building. And before I learned how to get high ground and have to be good at 90s, one thing that I've always been really good at is just protecting myself when I build, just protecting myself from the high ground, from other players shooting at me. And I think that's really important thing to focus on. And there's definitely a lot of techniques that can go along with this, but one of my main ones is the one that I'm showing here. It's basically a ramp in front of you, a ramp behind you, or you could just ramp out once, and what you want to do is build behind you a wall. And then on top of the wall, that is where you want to place your cone. And by placing the cone, it's going to protect you from getting shot from above. And as well, it's going to allow you to connect ramps to it as well. So you can continue to place the ramp below you. And as well, continue to place a ramp above you. So it's honestly the reason why this is so good when you're trying to go for high ground, or if you're just trying to protect yourself from getting shot at. And the reason why it's so good and so useful to use is because once you're doing it, you don't lose a lot of momentum. You can continue to do this, and you can do it pretty quickly, and you're not going to lose any momentum. It's not going to slow you down at all. Because if you want to use this to get high ground, you want to use this to prevent yourself from getting shot at, and you also want to prevent yourself from losing speed. Because if you do lose speed, because there's definitely a lot of techniques you can do that are really useful for protecting yourself from getting shot at, but it does slow you down if you're trying to get high ground. So learning this technique is very, very useful. And you also, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're not placing the cone too early, as I've done a few times. And if you place the cone too early and it doesn't connect to the wall up top, it's basically just going to place right in front of you and be super annoying. And then you have to edit it, and that way it's going to slow you down. And also the last reason why I really like this is because once you're doing this, in case you see the other player mess up their builds, or you see an opportunity to get high ground, you can also turn off this as well. So you don't always have to use it just to protect yourself from getting shot from above. If you see them mess up, see do anything like that, see an opportunity to go for high ground, you can use this exact same method to immediately turn around, go up and use that cone to protect you from getting shot from above, and as well just go for high ground and make a play from there. So that's one of the reasons why I think this is one of the main building tips that you guys definitely need to start using if you guys don't already use. And so the next tip that I'm going to be showing you guys in this video, one of my best tips here for Season 9, and this tip is going to focus on the early game and focus on the beginning of the start of the match. And the reason why I want to focus on this, because I think it's really important to get the early game right, because I've had so many times where I just died game after game off spawn, whatever the case may be. I didn't have any shield, didn't find a weapon, or if I just didn't land first. And there's a lot of different aspects, and personally when it comes to the early game, I choose to land on a weapon or a chance to choose to land on some shield. And most of the time I do land on some shield, because the shield is probably one of the hardest things to find in the early game. But a very useful tip that specifically relates to Season 9 is when you're landing in the early game, one way to land earlier and land before everyone else is you can use, I don't even know what these called, like the turbines or whatever, the rifts or whatever, I don't even know exactly what they're called, but you can use those to land earlier. Because normally when you go to land, it's basically gonna make you pull out your glider a lot sooner, which is gonna slow down the time it takes for you to actually land. So a very useful thing to do instead is to go inside of the turbine, go inside of the wind, and this is going to allow you to go even lower before taking out your glider, which is going to allow you to land a lot faster than everyone else. So this is a very useful tip and something I use a ton when I come to these landing locations. And of course, you're not going to be able to use that on every single location because some locations are going to be a little bit further from that from the others. But Paradise Palms is a place I go to all the time because I can use it to land before everyone else, get really good drops, and get the weapons before anyone else lands there. And not only that, in those turbines to my right, you can also land in the thing that goes from Tilted Towers over to, I think, towards the Lazy Lagoon, and then comes all the way back towards retail. It's kind of the thing where everyone just flies around all the time in. You can use these to also land a little bit sooner, and it does throw you a little bit more in front of you, so you do have a little bit more of a speed advantage if you time it right. So one of those things, the first one's a lot easier to use. The second one, it's more of a timing thing. If you can time it right, it can be very effective and allow you to get the weapon first. So everything's about timing when it comes to this one, but it can be very useful and also something that I'd recommend trying to learn using. And as well, if you're landing, you land in that, and then you see someone is already in front of you, you can actually fly around to maybe a different location to land at. Maybe you're at one house and you notice someone's going to go there, so you can use that to fly to a different building instead of just getting stuck at landing at one location. So the locations in which you can find these are, of course, near Paradise Palms, the one I showed. You can also find another one next to Pleasant Park. So if the bus goes into a location like this, it goes around there, you can use that to land earlier in Pleasant Park, which can be a useful strategy. The other one you can use it is to get into Shifty Shafts a little bit faster. You can see right there, I don't think anywhere else would be very useful for, because Polar Peak is a lot higher and Tilted Towers is a little bit too far from that location. So going to Pleasant Park and Paradise Palms is going to help you guys out when it comes to landing quicker. And then as you can see, the other turbine goes around the map towards Tilted Towers up to the most northern part of the map, and then goes all the way down towards retail, as you can see right here. And this was the tip that I really wanted to include in this video because I don't think I've seen anyone else talk about it. They don't really use it too much when it comes to landing, but it can be very useful if you can time it right, and really depending on your location, it can actually work out a lot better for you. And I'm surprised no one else has talked about it, but I think it's a very important tip, and I think can be very useful because early game is probably one of the most important things to be really good at. So using that to your advantage can also really help you out. And so going into my third tip, and this third tip is more like a game sense tip. So my first tip was a building tip. My second tip was basically to help you guys out in the early game to land faster. My third tip is more of game sense, and this is going to refer to movement, and any sort of movement. It could be a rift, it could be smoke bombs, not the smoke bombs, but like the shadow bombs where you can use it to get away from people and move really fast. And they're very useful in arena in the end game too. I always carry them, and also if you have a launch pad. But the reason why I want to talk about those three specifically is because when you have one of those three items, it's going to allow you to play a lot more aggressive, and also just having one of those items is going to be very useful for if you ever get pinched or you ever get into a situation where you're getting stuck from multiple sides. And I think people really underestimate that, because once you have a launch pad in your inventory, for me at least, it allows me to play a lot more aggressive, because if I get shot up on one shot, or maybe get shot from different directions and I'm kind of in a position where I don't want to be in, I can automatically use that launch pad to get to a different location. Otherwise, I'm very careful and very hesitant to go push players who are in the middle of a big gunfire, because if I go into it too quickly, then I'm not going to be able to get out of it. It's one of those things that I think is really, really important to have. And every single time that you go into a gunfight, you want to keep in mind, just in case everything goes really bad, a way to get out of that situation, or a way to kind of protect yourself. And a really good way is, buildings. I talk about buildings a lot. When you can use buildings to your advantage, you get shot up, you can use buildings, because it's very hard to break buildings unless you have dynamite. So buildings are very useful, but if you're in the middle of the open, which 99% of the time you're not going to be, unless you're in the early game, you're going to be next to buildings a ton. But when you're going to that mid or late game, it's not going to be a bunch of buildings, a bunch of objects to hide behind or go around. So basically your only option is really to use a launch pad, or maybe just box up and try to get heals off. But if you're getting shot from so many directions, it's going to be very difficult to get heals off. So you want to be really careful when challenging gunfights. But if you do have a launch pad, and even this even goes when somewhere in build fights, sometimes I'll even go a little bit higher than I normally would, just because if I have a launch pad, I know I can get down from the gunfight very quickly. So to sum this tip up, you always want to be mindful and be aware if you do have a launch pad in your inventory, and as well if you ever get into a sticky situation where you get really weak, try to pop a heal or two off and then try to use the launch pad to get away. The launch pad is going to be one of the best items to use if you ever get stuck in a situation where you feel like you can't get out, get in third party, or get into a really bad spot. I always recommend, if you really feel like you can't win that gunfight, there's too many people, whatever the case may be, that you use the launch pad to get away, maybe get some heals off, do anything like that, and then go back and challenge the fight. So with that being said, those are going to be my top 3 tips in my opinion here for season 9. I think these are really useful tips, something that everybody should learn. And with that being said, that's wrap up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys liked it. And if you guys could, make sure you guys do drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on my notifications so you're notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I'll see you next video.